We are going to do here's our last group of information on the muscles. So we're going to look at the thigh, the hips, the legs, and how they work. So the muscles that typically move your thigh are going to be attached to your femur and somewhere on your pelvis. Anterior, top group, so whenever we say anterior, we're looking at the top. Posterior is going to be on the bottom. The psoas major and the iliacus. Posterior group, gluteus maximus, gluteus medius, gluteus minimus, and then tensor fascia latae. So those are the different ones. We'll look at the pictures. Thigh adductors. Remember, you add to your body. So an adductor is going to be something on the inside because it's going to bring stuff back. Abductors with a B are going to bring away from your body and will be on the outside. If you ever take an aerobics class, they might say, all right, we're going to work our adductors or our abductors. So adductors, adductor longus, adductor magnus, and then your gracilis muscle, which when we dissect the cat, the gracilis is one of the larger muscles. So the main ones that we'll look at, adductors, like I said, are on the inside. Gracilis it looks small when you're looking at it from the front on this inside part. Sartorius, we'll start here. Sartorius is the only muscle you'll notice that crosses over at an angle. And that when you cross your leg, that muscle is used quite a bit to bring your leg over along with your adductors. When you actually look at your thigh or your quadriceps, so here, my key muscle I'm going to look at is the middle one. So if I flex my thigh, there is a large upper muscle, and that is your rectus femoris. Remember, rectus abdominis, it runs up and down. So your rectus femoris is the large one that runs along the top. Vastus lateralis, and the vastus lateralis and vastus medialis, if you had shorts on and could actually look at your knee, that's where you notice them the most. Vastus medialis runs along your leg, but you notice like where it ends on the inside of your knee. And then vastus lateralis is going to be over on the outside of your knee. So lateral outside, medial inside. Patellar ligament, we've been talking about ACLs. Sometimes they'll take this ligament to replace an ACL. And sartorius goes across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, you should know for sure. And adductor longus, you should definitely know that one too. Kind of a side view, gluteus maximus is your large butt muscle. So what you sit on, what you flex, that's the largest muscle of your butt. Gluteus medius is more kind of in your hip area. Here you can see a little bit of the sartorius. And here, all down the side of your leg, you have your iliotibial tract, which it's not a muscle, it's more a band of connective tissue that you have that runs along. And then your bicep femoris is going to be on the back, and we'll have a better picture of that a little bit later. But remember, anything to do with biceps is going to flex. So my biceps brachii bend my arm. Biceps femoris are going to flex my leg. So biceps are flexors. Table, like I said, origin, insertion, actions that they do. The ones that I highlight, make sure you know those because that'll be quite a bit of your test. Gluteus maximus, adductor longus, gracilis, make sure you know those. Actual leg movements are going to connect to your lower bones, so your tibia, your fibula, femur, depends on what part of your leg, and also to your pelvic girdle. So flexors are your hamstrings, and that's where, for Bailey's ACL, they removed from her hamstring group So hamstrings include your biceps femoris, semitendinosus, and semimembranosus. Membrane, membranosus, tendon-like, semitendinosus. And then your sartorius actually helps with some flexing. Extensors then are your quadriceps. Also quadriceps femoral group, composed of rectus femoris, that's that large center one, vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and vastus intermedius, which is a little bit more deep than the ones that we looked at on the last picture. So here's the same picture. I'm not going to go over that again. Make sure you know sartorius crosses the leg. Here's my femoris, lateral outside, medial inside. Make sure you know where those are located. Same picture again. Backside. So here's the posterior group. You can see the gluteus maximus does kind of run sideways. So when you are actually contracting your gluteus maximus, it's going to bring your leg a little bit back and up. Medius, like I said, was a little bit higher. So here, if I'm looking at semimembranosus, kind of sits a little bit, it's going to sit underneath your semitendinosus. So semitendinosus, long, skinny, middle muscle. It looks kind of like a tendon because it's long and skinny. So semitendinosus right in the middle. Larger muscle towards the outside, the lateral side, would be your biceps femoris. And then your semimembranosus runs alongside and under your semitendinosus. And then your gracilis basically is more of a side, so it's hard to see your gracilis from the front or the back because it runs more down the side. Gastrocnemius is your calf muscle. So the proper name for your calf muscle is gastrocnemius. Notice it kind of has two bumps to it. And here again, when you have shorts on and you stand up on your tippy toes, your gastrocnemius is going to extend your toes. A lot of people, you can see that large calf muscle when they flex that. Table, you can read through that again. Make sure you know what's part of your hamstring, what's part of your quadriceps. Then when we get to the foot, here again, it's your foot muscles are going to typically insert on your foot and originate on one of your leg muscles. Dorsal flexors, so that's front side on the bottom. Tibialis anterior is one of the most important ones. So that's what's going to flex your foot or bring it up. Tibialis, it runs right along your tibia. Fibularis tertius, also called peroneus. And then extensor digitorum longus, it's going to extend your toe digits. Plantar flexors, so that's when you're going to be they're called flexors because you're making the angle of your foot come towards that muscle. The gastrocnemius and the soleus are the two main ones that you'll need to be able to pick out, and then digitorum longus. So here's what we actually, inverter brings your toe forward, tibialis. Everter is going to bring it further to the outside. So invert up and in, evert up and out. So the main one here, tibialis anterior, runs right along your tibia, almost down the center of your leg. You definitely should know that one. Fibularis longus is another larger muscle that's going to run along this side. And then your digit extensor is a smaller one. I probably won't have you label that one. Side view, not my favorite one. Here we go. What I want to show is your soleus, and when we dissect cats, you can see that because the soleus sits underneath your gastrocnemius. So your calf muscle, your gastrocnemius, sits on top of the soleus, So the soleus actually is a large band that sits underneath the gastrocnemius. And then your calcanean tendon, that's going to run from your gastrocnemius down to your calcaneus. People can, accidentally cut or tear that tendon also. That's common in like dogs. We had a dog that got its leg caught in a gate and cut that tendon, and they actually stitched it together. And there is the table for feet, or muscles of the foot, and that is what I have on muscles. So make sure you know your labeling, especially the ones I've talked about that you'll need to know. Where do those muscles originate and insert? And what's their action? Do they extend? Do they flex? What do they do?